Namaste, everyone. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Your Pleasure Incorporated into Daily Living. Today, I want to talk about something that is a little sad. It's in remembrance of Dr. Ruth Westheimer, who just died this past Friday, July 12th. Dr. Westheimer was a pioneer in disseminating sexual education. She was feisty, she was outspoken, she used all the words that we as adults should use when we're talking about our body parts, and she used them to educate the public that sex was something that needed to be talked about, it needed to be understood, and more importantly, it needed to be respected. Now, Dr. Ruth's main focus whenever she spoke was that masturbation was important and that we should do it. I totally agree. And that it was extremely important to always use protection. A condom was, in her mind, the best way to protect yourself, not only from unwanted pregnancies, but from diseases. So whenever she spoke, those were the two things that she would mention. And I agreed with her 100%. But where I have taken the discussion of sex from not just being a thing to be responsible for, but a thing to be educated in, a thing to understand that our sex life, if done well, is one of the greatest gifts that we have, and truly a living art if you know the things that you need to know about this art. The fact that the human body has erogenous zones from the top of the head all the way to the soles of the feet. The fact that both male and females are multi-orgasmic if they learn how to control their orgasmic response. The fact that when you are with someone, if you are there to give, and that goes for the male to the female and the female to the male, then it's going to be a beautiful experience. But if you're both there just to see what you can get, it's going to be less than desirable, less than perfect. So Dr. Ruth and I had our similarities. I always recommend that it's really, really important to masturbate, especially if you do not have a partner, because that doesn't mean that you should not have some kind of sexual release, which is very, very healthy for you to have a sexual release. And if you don't want to just have random sex with just anybody, you can have sex by yourself. Your right or your left hand will do a phenomenal job. And if you don't have, don't have expertise, just touch yourself slowly, close your eyes, or maybe buy a toy and let the vibration do the work for you. Just close your eyes and feel everything. The bottom line is sex done responsibly is healthy and it's good for us. And the more we know about it, the better. And that's what Dr. Ruth was pioneering all of her life. She was talking about being responsible in your sexual relations. And it's as important today as it was then, because today there's a lot of confusion about our sexuality, not confusion for people who are looking at the truth, but for people who are a little bit delusional in what they believe and want the rest of us to believe it too. We're not going down that path. It just doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure Dr. Ruth would agree with me. She died on Friday. She was 96 years old. And the positive impact that she had, not just on sexual relations, but on the fact that we should be able to talk about this. I mean, food and sex are both controlled by the limbic brain. We celebrate food. We talk about it all the time. There are literally hundreds of cooking shows showing how to make the perfect dish. But another one of our very strong desires and drives, along with eating to survive, is our sex drive. And if we can understand about our sex drive in a scientific way to start, and then after understanding what happens physiologically, what can happen as far as pregnancy, about spreading of disease, after all of those logistics are taken care of, then we can take it to a whole nother step where we learn that your body is a temple, which has great potential for pleasure. And if you respect your body, if you take care of your body, and if you love yourself, which I strongly recommend that you love yourself, that this is a healthy part of your life. And to be embarrassed about it or to be ashamed about it and to keep the conversation in the closet is to set you up for a whole lot of dissatisfaction in your life. Because, no two people are the same. No two people turn on or get excited with the same kind of stimulus. So if you, as the individual, would like your partner to understand what gets your engine running, what really excites you, you have to know. And then you have to communicate that to your lover. Because if you don't, how are they supposed to know? Okay? There's no instruction manual. It comes with you. So education and good communication are the keys to having a sex life that gets better and better and better with age, like a fine wine you develop over the years. And you learn how to take care of yourself from the inside out. Every week when I do one of my shows, I end by saying, do your Kegel exercises. I don't know if Dr. Ruth ever talked about Kegel exercises. It's an exercise that you do by squeezing the PC muscle, which is the band of muscles around the vagina. They are the band of muscles that hold up the uterus and a couple of other organs. They are the bands of muscles that sag over time, whether from too much weight gain, from multiple pregnancies, from poor health and gravity pushing down. You can't see the pelvic floor, but it is extremely important, not only in avoiding the pessary, which is an upside down umbrella that a lot of senior women get put up inside of them to hold everything up, but also in your sexual response throughout your life. You are going to want to have a strong, toned, tight vagina. And by doing Kegel exercises, whether you've had one child or 5 children, as long as you're doing these Kegel exercises regularly, you're going to be able to snap back. That's not talked about much in society. They would recommend that you just go get some Depends or some kind of underwear so that when you leak in society, that should be considered perfectly normal. No, it's not normal. But if you don't know about Kegels, if you don't do them, if you don't pay respect to your body to get this done, then that's what's going to happen. Just like if you don't exercise your muscles, they wash away over time. And the next thing you know, you're a little old lady sitting in a chair asking somebody to help you get to the bathroom. Or you're a little old man who falls down and breaks a hip. And then your life just kind of circles down, down, down from there. These bodily changes happen over time. And by knowing your body, loving your body, and taking care of your body with strength training exercises, with Kegels, which is basically an isometric exercise, with stretching, you can enjoy a very wonderful sex life. And your sex life is extremely important. I've met a lot of women in my day who are just the most bitter pill you ever want to meet, or they're just so likely to cheat. And I understand why, because the person that they're having sex with is not giving them what they need, and they have no communication skills to be able to tell this person what they need. And also, there are some women who do have a partner, and again, they're having trouble communicating. Then there's those people who don't have a partner, and God forbid they masturbate. They're just too embarrassed. They just think there's something wrong or sordid or nasty or weird or, kinky, or I don't know what they're thinking, because I can't get into crazy. But I'm telling you right now, if God did not want us to masturbate, your clitoris would be between your shoulder blades where you can't reach it. As it is, it's a hand away and easily accessible. So learn to love yourself, learn to respect yourself, understand that the human drive to procreate and especially for men to knock one off is very, very strong. And if you respect your body and you know what its capabilities are for pleasure, you're not necessarily going to just want to share that with anybody or any Tom, Dick, or Harry that comes along, because they don't all deserve it. Okay? You can't expect to have the best pleasure in the world from someone who doesn't care about you at all and who just sees you as an available hole to penetrate. And that goes for males and females. So I hope that you will remember Dr. Ruth. She was a pioneer. She was wonderful. And I am so grateful that she lived in my lifetime, because when she was hitting her stride, talking on all kinds of shows and doing her thing, that's when I was doing my pleasure parties. And just like she approached it in an educational way to talk to people about what the body was doing and how to have a good sexual response and how to be responsible for your body, I was taking it a step further, and I was talking about the quality of orgasms, multiple orgasms, orgasms through all different kinds of body parts. And I don't think she ever went there, but she opened the door for the rest of us to be able to talk about this somewhat uncomfortable subject. It's never been uncomfortable for me, because I just think that it's the most normal thing in the world to want to have sex and to enjoy sex. But for anybody who's been raised in a very strict family, whose parents were embarrassed and who just really could not bring themselves to discuss the birds and the bees with their kids, it was a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. And even though they listened to her in private, nobody went out and started talking about the things that Dr. Ruth was talking about, because it was just stuff that you didn't speak about in polite company. But I think she was very polite, and I think she was great. And I hope that everybody will remember the wonderful Dr. Ruth and keep her lessons in mind. The first one being, love yourself, take care of your body. Don't be afraid to masturbate. It's good for you. And if you do have a lover, make sure that you are being responsible in your relationship with them, communicating with them so that they know what you like, what you don't like, and how you like to be approached. And this goes both ways: male to female, female to male, male to male, female to female. However you break that down, everybody needs to communicate, because you don't come with instructions, you don't come with directions. And you deserve pleasure, but only if you want it, and only if you know what it is for you. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Your Pleasure Incorporated. Next week, I'll come back with another one of my stories of adventures of a modern Aphrodite. Again, do your Kegel exercises every time you're waiting at a light, every time you're waiting for anything, standing around waiting in a line at the bank or at the supermarket, sitting on the beach, wherever you go, do your Kegel exercises. And at the end of the day, you'll have your 300 done, and your insides, your global system, your global muscular system will thank you for it. And you'll save a lot of money for surgeries that you won't need and diapers for adults that you won't need. Thanks for joining me. Namaste.